You've been told that managing diabetes is all about what you eat during the day. Calories, carbs, portions, discipline. But what if the biggest mistake you're making has nothing to do with your meals at all and everything to do with what happens after the lights go off? Because while you're asleep, something is quietly working against you, pushing your blood sugar higher without your awareness, without symptoms, and without warning. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear in a clinic. Your blood sugar doesn't rest when you sleep. In fact, for many people with diabetes, it becomes more unstable at night than during the day. And the habits you follow in the final hours before bed can determine whether you wake up feeling in control or wake up to numbers that make the entire day feel like a loss before it even begins. What makes this more concerning is that this problem rarely shows up in conversations with doctors. Appointments focus on medications, food logs, and A1C targets, but the night those 8 silent hours when your body is supposed to recover is often ignored. Not because it isn't important, but because its effects are subtle, delayed, and easy to overlook until the damage has already accumulated. And that's where the real risk lives. Because when your blood sugar rises at night, you don't feel it. You don't correct it. You don't even know it's happening. Yet night after night, those invisible spikes quietly raise your A1C, strain your blood vessels, and increase the risk of complications despite your best efforts during the day. Over the past several years, researchers studying sleep metabolism and circadian biology have uncovered something that changes how diabetes should be managed. They found that a small window in the evening, just 1 to 2 hours before sleep, can either protect your blood sugar or undermine everything you're trying to accomplish. And the difference doesn't come from extreme diets or expensive devices, but from a few specific habits that most people have never been taught to pay attention to. By the end of this video, you'll understand why diabetes control often fails at night, what the real invisible enemy is, and how a simple shift in your bedtime routine can start working for you while you sleep rather than against you. Most people with diabetes go to bed believing the hardest part of the day is over. Dinner is done, medications are taken, the kitchen is closed. But what happens next is where things quietly unravel. Somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m., while you're deep asleep, your body can make a decision that undoes everything you worked for during the day, and you won't feel a thing until you see the number on your glucose meter the next morning. This is where the first habit comes in, and it sounds almost wrong at first. A small protein-rich snack between 9 and 10 p.m. Not sugar, not carbs, just protein. And the reason it works has nothing to do with willpower or discipline. It has everything to do with how your liver behaves at night. Here's the mechanism most people never hear about. As you sleep, your liver acts like an internal alarm clock. In healthy metabolism, it releases just enough glucose in the early morning hours to prepare your body to wake up. But in people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, that signal becomes exaggerated. The liver panics. It dumps stored glucose into your bloodstream in large amounts, even though you don't need it. This is known as the dawn phenomenon, and research suggests it affects up to 3/4 of people with type 2 diabetes. The problem is subtle but dangerous. You go to bed with decent numbers, and you wake up 30, sometimes 40, or even 50 points higher. Over time, those nightly spikes quietly push your A1C upward. You may think your diet isn't working anymore. You may think your medication needs adjusting. In reality, the issue isn't what you're eating, it's what your body's doing when you're unconscious. A properly timed protein snack changes that entire equation. Protein delivers a slow, steady stream of amino acids throughout the night. This creates a gentle insulin signal, just enough to tell your liver that there's no emergency, no need to release stored glucose. Unlike carbohydrates, protein doesn't spike blood sugar quickly. It stabilizes it. The effect is calm, controlled, and sustained for 6 to 8 hours. Studies examining bedtime protein intake have found that people who consumed around 25 to 30 grams of protein before sleep experienced significantly lower morning glucose levels compared to nights when they fasted. In some cases, average fasting readings dropped by nearly 30 points. That's not a small improvement. It's the difference between waking up discouraged and waking up in control. The type of protein matters more than most people realize. Fast digesting proteins can wear off too quickly. This is why casein protein naturally found in cottage cheese and Greek yogurt is so effective. Casein digests slowly, forming a gel-like substance in the stomach that releases amino acids gradually throughout the night. Research comparing casein to faster proteins has shown more stable overnight blood sugar and better morning readings with casein-based snacks. Whole food options work just as well. A couple of hard-boiled eggs provide complete protein with virtually no carbohydrate interference. A small handful of almonds or walnuts adds healthy fats that slow digestion, even further extending the stabilizing effect. The goal isn't to feel full, it's to send a calm biochemical message to your liver that everything is under control. What most people don't expect is how far the benefits extend beyond morning glucose. Consistent bedtime protein intake has been linked to improved insulin sensitivity over time. Your muscles use those nighttime amino acids for repair and maintenance. More metabolically active muscle tissue means more places for glucose to go the next day. In controlled trials lasting several weeks, participants showed measurable improvements in glucose tolerance simply by maintaining this habit consistently. Sleep quality improves as well. Blood sugar swings during the night are one of the most common causes of restless sleep and early awakenings. By stabilizing glucose, protein helps prevent those invisible disruptions. People often report falling asleep faster, waking less often, and feeling more rested even before they notice changes on their glucose monitor. There's also a quiet fat burning advantage. When protein is available overnight, your body is less likely to break down muscle for glucose. Instead, it shifts toward using stored fat for energy. Studies using metabolic chambers have shown higher overnight fat oxidation in people who consume protein before bed compared to those who fast. Timing and portion size are critical. This is not about late-night eating. The sweet spot is about 60 to 90 minutes before you lie down, allowing digestion to begin while you're still upright. The ideal amount is roughly 25 to 35 grams of protein. Going far beyond that can backfire, as excess protein may be converted into glucose through gluconeogenesis. More is not better, precision is. When this habit is done correctly, it doesn't feel like effort. It feels like relief. Relief from unpredictable mornings, relief from blaming yourself, relief from thinking that diabetes control is slipping through your fingers. But keeping your liver calm overnight is only one piece of the puzzle. Because even if glucose release is controlled, there's still the question of where the sugar from dinner goes, and that answer depends on something your body does best when you're awake, not asleep. And that's exactly why the next habit, what you do with your body after dinner, can either amplify this effect or quietly erase it before you even get into bed. By calming your liver with a protein snack, you stop one of the biggest sources of overnight glucose spikes. But that only solves half of the problem, because there's still one critical question left unanswered: what happens to the sugar from dinner once it's already in your bloodstream? And for most people with diabetes, this is where the damage quietly continues. After dinner, blood sugar naturally rises. That's normal. The problem begins when the body stays still, sitting on the couch, watching TV, scrolling on a phone. When you don't move, glucose has nowhere to go. It lingers in the bloodstream, slowly damaging blood vessels, irritating nerves, and keeping insulin levels elevated for hours longer than necessary. You may not feel anything in that moment, but your body is paying the price. This is where the evening walk becomes one of the most powerful and most underestimated tools for blood sugar control. Not intense exercise, not a workout, just a simple, consistent walk after dinner. And what makes it so effective is that it bypasses one of the biggest problems in diabetes: insulin resistance. When your muscles contract during walking, they activate glucose transporters that pull sugar out of your blood without needing insulin at all. This is critical. It means even when insulin isn't working efficiently, your muscles can still act like sponges, absorbing glucose and burning it for energy. Within minutes, blood sugar begins to drop, not because of medication, but because your body is doing what it was designed to do. The silent consequence of skipping this step is prolonged hyperglycemia. Blood sugar stays elevated well into the night. Insulin remains high. Fat burning shuts down. And when you finally go to sleep, your system is already stressed. Over time, this pattern contributes to higher A1C, increased inflammation, and worsening insulin resistance, despite doing everything right with food. The science here is remarkably consistent. Studies published in leading diabetes journals show that even a 15-minute walk after dinner can reduce post-meal glucose spikes by up to 30%. Extend that walk to 20 or 30 minutes and the benefits compound. In long-term studies tracking people with type 2 diabetes, those who walked every evening at roughly the same time saw A1C reductions of around 0.7 to 0.8% over several months, comparable to adding another medication, but without side effects. But the benefits don't stop at glucose disposal. Evening walking has a powerful hormonal effect. Stress hormones, especially cortisol, tend to rise in the evening, particularly in people managing chronic conditions like diabetes. Cortisol signals the liver to release more glucose. Walking lowers cortisol levels naturally, sometimes by as much as 30 to 40%. Less cortisol means less glucose released, better overnight stability, and a calmer nervous system heading into sleep. Many people notice this effect emotionally before they see it on a glucose meter. The mind settles. The anxious loop about numbers, complications, and what-ifs quiets down. Walking becomes a transition, a physical signal that the day is ending and recovery is beginning. This mental shift matters more than most people realize because stress itself directly worsens insulin resistance. Sleep quality improves as well. Gentle evening movement increases sleep pressure, helping you fall asleep faster and spend more time in deep sleep. Deep sleep is when the body repairs tissues, balances hormones, and restores metabolic function. Research shows that people who walk in the evening fall asleep faster and experience significantly more deep sleep compared to sedentary evenings. Better sleep means better insulin sensitivity the next day. It's a reinforcing loop. There's also a powerful appetite regulating effect. Evening walks dramatically reduce late-night snacking. When walking becomes a ritual, the brain associates it with closing the kitchen. Studies have found that people who walk after dinner consume hundreds fewer calories from nighttime snacks compared to those who remain sedentary. Fewer late-night carbs mean fewer glucose spikes while you sleep. The application is simple, but precision matters. The ideal time to walk is about 30 to 45 minutes after finishing dinner when blood sugar is peaking. That's when your intervention has the greatest impact. The ideal duration is 20 to 30 minutes at a moderate pace, fast enough to elevate your heart rate, slightly slow enough that you can still hold a conversation. This is not about intensity. Consistency matters far more than speed. Safety is straightforward. Wear comfortable shoes. Stay hydrated. If balance or joint pain is a concern, even walking indoors or breaking the walk into shorter segments works. This habit adapts to your body, not the other way around. And the payoff is immediate. Many people see lower evening and morning readings within days. When combined with a protein snack, the effect multiplies. The walk clears glucose from the bloodstream, and the protein keeps your liver calm overnight. Together, they create stability instead of chaos. But even with glucose handled and stress reduced, there's still a hidden force that can sabotage everything if you're not careful, something most people expose themselves to every night without thinking. Because what you do with your eyes in the final hour before bed may determine whether your body is actually ready to regulate blood sugar or quietly pushed into metabolic resistance. By this point, glucose from dinner has somewhere to go, and your liver has been reassured that there's no overnight emergency. On paper, everything should finally settle down. But for many people with diabetes, this is exactly where things fall apart, because there's a silent signal hitting the brain every night that tells the body to do the exact opposite of what you want. That signal is blue light. Phones, tablets, TVs, laptops, LED lighting. They feel harmless, relaxing even. But biologically, blue light is interpreted by your brain as a powerful message. It's still daytime. And for your metabolism, that message is costly. Here's the mechanism that almost no one explains clearly. Your body runs on a circadian rhythm and internal clock that controls hormone release, insulin sensitivity, and glucose regulation. In the evening, your brain is supposed to shift into nighttime mode, triggering melatonin production. Melatonin is often called a sleep hormone, but that description is incomplete. Melatonin directly affects how your pancreas releases insulin and how your cells respond to it. When melatonin rises, insulin sensitivity improves. When melatonin is suppressed, insulin resistance worsens. Blue light suppresses melatonin more aggressively than any other type of light. Studies from sleep and metabolic research centers have shown that just 2 hours of screen exposure before bed can reduce melatonin production by up to 80%. And when that happens, your body enters sleep in a metabolically confused state, tired but not repaired. The silent consequence is that blood sugar regulation during the night becomes impaired. Even if you ate well, even if you walked, even if your liver was calm, your cells simply don't respond to insulin as efficiently when melatonin is blocked. Over time, this contributes to higher fasting, glucose creeping A1C levels, and a frustrating sense that diabetes control is slipping for no obvious reason. The symptoms often show up indirectly. You fall asleep later than intended. You wake up feeling unrefreshed. You crave carbohydrates the next morning. You notice higher readings that don't make sense. Research published in clinical nutrition and sleep journals has found that people exposed to blue light before bed consume hundreds more calories the following day, especially from sugary and starchy foods because hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin become dysregulated. Poor sleep also elevates cortisol. And cortisol, as you already know, signals the liver to release more glucose. This creates a vicious loop. Screens disrupt sleep, poor sleep raises cortisol, cortisol raises blood sugar, and high blood sugar further disrupts sleep. Night after night, this loop quietly reinforces insulin resistance. The data is sobering. In controlled studies, people exposed to screens for 2 hours before bedtime showed fasting blood glucose levels the next morning that were 15 to 20 points higher compared to nights without screen exposure. Over weeks and months, that difference alone is enough to meaningfully raise A1C without any change in diet or medication. The solution is simple but not easy. It's called a digital sunset. All screens off at least 90 minutes before your intended bedtime. Not dimmed, not filtered, off. This gives your brain time to restart melatonin production and transition fully into nighttime physiology. Studies show that people who implement a 90-minute screen cutoff fall asleep faster, spend more time in deep sleep, and show measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity. If complete avoidance isn't realistic at first, blue light blocking glasses can reduce exposure by about 60 to 70%. They're not perfect, but they're far better than nothing. Warm amber lighting in the evening also helps signal darkness to the brain. What you replace screen time with matters. Reading a physical book under warm light keeps the mind engaged without metabolic damage. Gentle stretching or slow breathing shifts the nervous system from alert to repair. Journaling reduces mental noise and lowers cortisol. Even quiet conversation creates emotional safety that prepares the body for sleep. These activities don't just help you fall asleep, they actively support better blood sugar control overnight. Safety-wise, this habit is one of the lowest risk interventions you can make. There's no medication interaction, no calorie counting, no strain on the body. The only challenge is breaking a cultural habit that feels normal but isn't biologically natural. When this habit is implemented consistently, many people notice changes faster than expected. Sleep deepens. Morning cravings decrease. Fasting glucose begins to stabilize. And the combination effect is powerful because now your body isn't just clearing glucose and calming the liver. It's finally entering sleep with the hormonal environment it needs to heal. But even with perfect habits, protein, timing, movement, and darkness, there's still one physical condition that can quietly undermine everything if it's wrong, and it has nothing to do with food steps or screens. Because the temperature of the room you sleep in may determine whether your body burns glucose all night or struggles to regulate it until morning. By now, your body has done 3 important things. Dinner glucose has been cleared. Your liver has been reassured. Your hormones have finally been allowed to shift into nighttime mode. On the surface, everything looks right, but there's one last factor that quietly determines whether all of those benefits actually translate into lower blood sugar by morning or slowly leak away while you sleep. That factor is temperature. Most people think of sleep temperature as a comfort issue. Too warm, too cold, find what feels good. But metabolically, bedroom temperature is not about comfort at all. It's a biological signal. And when that signal is wrong, your body struggles to enter the deep restorative state where blood sugar regulation actually improves. Here's the mechanism. To fall asleep and stay asleep, your core body temperature needs to drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. This cooling isn't just for rest, it directly affects insulin sensitivity, glucose metabolism, and hormone release. When the room is too warm, that temperature drop doesn't happen efficiently. The body stays in a low-grade stress state, even if you don't consciously wake up. The silent consequence is fragmented sleep and impaired metabolic repair. You may toss and turn. You may wake briefly without remembering it. Each micro-awakening triggers stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And every time cortisol rises, it signals your liver to release glucose. Night after night, this creates higher fasting blood sugar without any obvious cause. But there's another layer most people have never been told about brown fat. Brown adipose tissue is a special type of fat designed to burn glucose and regular fat to generate heat. Unlike white fat, brown fat is metabolically active. When you sleep in a cooler environment, brown fat turns on, and it pulls glucose out of your bloodstream continuously to keep you warm. Studies using advanced imaging have shown that people sleeping in rooms around 66 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit have significantly more active brown fat than those sleeping in warmer rooms. That activation alone can burn an extra 100 to 150 calories overnight, much of it coming directly from glucose. This is not exercise, this is passive glucose disposal while you sleep. The numbers are hard to ignore. Research published in diabetes and sleep journals has found that sleeping in a cooler environment can improve insulin sensitivity by more than 30% compared to warmer conditions. In real-world tracking, people who adjusted their bedroom temperature saw fasting glucose drop by 15 to over 20 points within a single week. Over months, this translated into meaningful A1C reductions without changing diet or medication. The benefits extend far beyond blood sugar. Cooler sleep environments dramatically increase deep sleep, the stage where growth hormone is released. Growth hormone helps preserve muscle mass repair tissues and maintain metabolic rate, all critical for long-term glucose control. Studies show higher overnight growth hormone levels in people sleeping at optimal temperatures compared to those in warm rooms. Cardiovascular health improves as well. Blood pressure naturally dips at night, and that dip is deeper in cooler environments. A stronger overnight blood pressure drop is associated with lower risk of heart disease and stroke, two major concerns for people with diabetes. When the body isn't struggling to dump excess heat, the heart can truly rest. Application is straightforward, but requires intention. Set your thermostat between 66 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit before bed. If air conditioning isn't available, use fans, open windows, or breathable cotton sheets. Avoid synthetic bedding that traps heat against your body. Some people benefit from cooling mattress pads or pillows that draw heat away from the core. One counterintuitive strategy is a warm shower about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. As your skin cools afterward, it accelerates the drop in core body temperature, signaling sleep readiness. Keep your hands and feet slightly cool while your core stays warm. This temperature gradient helps you fall asleep faster. From a safety standpoint, this habit is low risk for most people. Adjust gradually if you're sensitive to cold. Use extra blankets rather than overheating the room. Comfort matters, but metabolic function matters more. When this final habit is in place, the system clicks. Glucose is cleared. Hormones are aligned. Brown fat is active. Sleep becomes restorative instead of fragmented. And morning blood sugar finally reflects the effort you're putting in. But the real power of these habits isn't in any single one alone. It's in how they work together, night after night, building momentum while you sleep. Because when these four habits combine, the results aren't incremental anymore. They become transformational. Now that you understand how these four bedtime habits work together, protein before bed, an evening walk, shutting down blue light, and sleeping in a cool room, you have the power to start taking control of your blood sugar tonight. You don't need expensive devices, complicated diets, or extra medications to see a difference. Start small. Pick just one habit tonight, whether it's the protein snack or a 20-minute walk after dinner, and commit to it for the next few days. As you build each habit into your routine, you'll begin to notice subtle changes, morning glucose readings that are calmer, more consistent energy throughout the day, and a sense that your body's finally working with you instead of against you. Week by week, these small changes compound, and over months, your A1C can drop, your cravings stabilize, and your overall metabolic health improves. I care about your journey, and I want you to succeed. Save this video so you can return to it whenever you need a reminder of the steps that truly make a difference. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to get the latest medically backed insights that will help you manage your blood sugar and protect your health. Finally, comment below and tell me which habit you're starting tonight, or share your own tips for managing blood sugar at night. I read every comment, and together we can make managing diabetes feel less overwhelming and more empowering. Start tonight, add one habit at a time, and let your body thank you with steadier mornings and better health.